Welcome to Liminal Reflections Rorschach Radio with your host Steph here from the House of Scrying and or your auntie at Inkblot Oracle. And our guest is this Inkblot that would like to step forward and reveal something to you. Or maybe you'd just like to share in the atmosphere and the air of my own reflections, see what speaks, see what saunters, or maybe something that just simply amuses. I'm also going to put a link below to the reading over at the House of Scrying channel that this is also associated with, should that inspire you. But as we're here today, speaking with our Inkblot guest, I can't help but feel this gradients, texture, an opening, but maybe that opening was a tear. There's something about the third eye, and it feels like just opening up, almost like a tear in the universe, if I may, or the Milky Way. Oh, and that's funny. I'm seeing the episode from the new show, Stuart Fails to Try to Save the Universe, maybe, or the Galaxy. And if I recall in the first episode, there's like this tear. But this is what it feels like, but it's in the third eye space. And this third eye is just kind of opening up to being something more than it was once thought of. This is not about becoming more or less woo-woo or more and less compared to anyone else. And really, we're here looking in a mirror, maybe than I, you, we, me could even think of what's possible. There are elephant ears emerging from the side of it, but they're like more like wings, and those wings turn into lampshades. And those lampshades turn into hunting dogs, I believe they are. And I'm seeing a scene. It's not polo, but people on horses. And they're dressed very fancy. And they have this, like, I think it's a hound dog. He ain't nothing but a hound dog. Crying all the time. There's also labs up at the top, lab dogs. There's a lot of loyalty here, but in different ways. It's like different dogs and canines having skill sets for different areas that can be trained, that can be both wild, accept love, accept nurturing, and also abuse, and also power issues from their person, and they're projected onto them so that they feel in control. There's an understanding here that feels beyond almost what a human may or may not conceive. You know, it is overall very revealing. And if you have lost a pet, a canine companion, please know they're most likely sending in another one. Whether you find them, go looking, you will have that spark, that knowing, to have that guide, that loyal love with you by your side, no matter what you go through. And if you choose not to have another embodied animal, spirit guide, etc. with you, and knowing that they're with you still in spirit, as they are so very much so alive. And there's all sorts of this remembering and meandering as we go through it, and it can be easy to look for logic, to try and find or feel of sound mind. I'll be honest in this moment, maybe just as a recap, it is not my concern to ensure anyone that may be listening here thinks or feels a particular way, whether in relation to myself, to the Inkblot, or to oneself. The freedom to wander around and not have to make sense for a moment. It's like playing in the bath as a kid, wandering outside and feeling the breeze and not trying to control where the breeze goes or what is it trying to say, what is the sign, what is the message, what is becoming, what is dying, where all of it in this moment feels released and relieved, as though that tear is also drawing everything in like a vacuum. Maybe there's a vacuuming of the mindscape going on. And when we hang out close to dry on the line, are we hanging out dirty laundry or clean laundry? that is worn, loved, used. And sometimes it's nice to also hang it carpet on that line and bang it with the broom and get the dust out first. It's all very curious where we're going here, and we haven't even left the top. But the Inkblot's going to speak and reveal accordingly, differently at different times. And so now I'm being asked to wander off to the sides. There's dancing going on here. You make me feel like dancing. But they are mermaids. The mermaids are dancing. And there's lots of eyes here. So many eyes. There's a sphinx as well. The sphinx has a bonnet on, like a baby bonnet. There's also a caterpillar coming out from a pod. Yeah, it's coming out from a pod. Maybe in that chrysalis stage of the metamorphosis, and just seeing the emergence of it and maybe how much we missed that. Something about the veins keeps coming through, and seeing the subtle textures of communication without having to constantly seek communication to feel we have a direction. The vibration within the throat, speaking and emanating out from the body as a tuning fork seen through the center. And not being harsh upon ourselves when we may judge what we say or do as a baboonish or baboon-like. But there's also something about playing and seeing, I think in the spirit of maybe even like Stanley Kubrick's, because there is this space Odyssey vibe here. There is this feel of like seeing something new and unsure what it is. Finding tools, and then monkey see, monkey do. And maybe this helps overall, maybe the species, what is being sent out into the species through evolution, what says it's evolution, and maybe other things that are being sent out into the species as well as a human existence that isn't for the evolution, but to have an arrested development in a certain area, as that serves certain conditions. And I'm back in the space of like breeding the dogs or something along that lines. And it's all very curious. And if it sparks you, you'll wander out from that point, if you get what I'm putting down, and you don't have to at all. But that's just how it feels, like this balancing of perspective of seeing how a series or something might be seeping in to the collective that puts something, an area in arrested development, and one that opens an awareness. And are they in conflict? I'm not really sure. Are they potentially both a part of the evolution? Is it no, it's not my concern, but it is a contemplation and a conversation curiously being had. And then I think that there's times when we see things, when we can sense something's different in the monkey see, monkey do, and where maybe we try to tap in, we try to connect, we try to touch the understanding for unity, for compassion. And whether that leads to deeper, more, or an awareness of no more, less, and we start to walk away and create space from that. And then I'm back into the spaciousness of all that is here in this Odyssey that speaks and says so much, and yet cryptically very little, or cryptically a lot and seemingly very little. And as I'm back with these dancing mermaids that are now sitting quite casually, to be honest with you. And they are drying off, and I find that curious. They are drying off from the waist up, and there's a towel being wrapped around them. And these mirror, maybe it's the feelings, maybe it's the emotional body, and maybe even areas of different intelligences. And we could say there is different intelligences in governments and organizations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, even in businesses, loss prevention, security, different intelligences that maybe are compartmentalized in the air of keeping something unknown as much as possible, or if departments can't communicate, then they can't put the pieces together. And so things are kept very, very separate. And on mass and on stage, it's stepping forward. So there it is. Can I dive back into myself? Because in the moment I feel and I see this and I'm like, oh, and how does my knee communicate with maybe a nerve ending or a vein or a ligament, or a symptom that has arising out on a toe or a finger or a palm connected to a whole other area? And this is where I'm grateful it has brought me to in this adventure. Because where the symptom may lie or reside or be shown is not separate from, and yet there may be, as an observer in between, how curious to know at least thyself. And while we may not know even the things that we're a part of, like on a larger scale of, say, a corporation or different intelligences, but we are affecting the all, or affecting, even in our space of simple existence. And it's funny how we like to make things curiously complicated sometimes. The complexity seems to validate a different intelligent, as though speaking a language somebody else can understand. And this feels like a technique. This feels purposeful. This doesn't feel malicious in any sort of way. This doesn't feel keeping one out, keeping the other. This feels as though it's know thyself in their communications. And so, like a Chinese finger trap, I think that is the way I'm seeing it. You know how to get yourself in and out. And where am I? You might say, I have no idea, but we're here traveling freely, reminding ourselves to be free, to not have to conform anything into a conclusion or a concept that makes sense, but to trust as the pieces wander out into the sky like stars, and those stars are diamonds. And they shine and glitter. And yet they may be, without me knowing science, dying stars, and we gaze upon them with majesty. And so the mermaid is drying off and grateful for the help and support. There's also an ET coming through here from the movie. And there's something about creative communication through the intelligences of all that is, the greater intelligence, the managing intelligences, and organizations as well. And maybe there's something about an observer getting organized, or the observer within or without, the observer within, observing without, and taking in all that data and saying, okay, and now I'm going to spend some time with self, or whatever your thing is, the way you make a meal or drive your car, and organize those things, including sending things to the recycle bin. I can't help but see like this large, it's like, I don't want to be creepy, but you know, I love me some spooky, like black-eyed being. But again, it could be just space. The way it's perceiving and appearing to be, there's also something about pairs. And I will say, before I get ready to flip it here, be not afraid is what I hear. Be not afraid. I am here. And perhaps there is some otherworldly presence that you're sensing is observing in all of this. And so we have made the flip, and our Inkblot guest is stepping forward from a different point of view. And if you ever were in the 90s, there's these whiteout things that we used to have, you know, not the bottles, but they would come, it ended up being like this little device that was on a wheel. And then it was just so fancy, like you could just like white it out. It was like a white line. Feels like there's something that is not being covered up. Maybe we're very much so in interesting spaces here. So yeah, maybe there is a covering up, but an ability to rewrite, make a correction, and how we make those corrections, and the evolution of how we do that from back in the day with typewriters and whiteout and erasers and backspaces. There's so many ways to correct a correction. I wanted to say correct a mistake. And sure, I think there are times when you, me can say, I have made a mistake. This is not to be shamed or looked upon as how dare you, or I can't believe it. Maybe it was a mistake just for that environment, what was asked of us, what we accepted, what we agreed upon as the outcome, and we made a mistake. We reacted, we responded harshly, loudly, erratically, emotionally charged. We made a mistake. I'm sorry. And maybe in this very moment, whatever that may be, where in some way, shape, or form, like these documents, and they would have everything blacked out, right? And these different intelligences that seems to be popping in here. And the documents would be blacked out. Now here they're white out. And you get to write in the correction. Not to lie about the history of what was or what happened, but in a way to say, I confirm I learned. The original will always stand. And that is okay. There's no shame to that. But I did make the correction. I didn't try and black it out and just retract it as though no eyes can see beyond the veil of the void of the black marker. It's a curious thing, space in which we're at. There is a mushroom that is being born here off to the side. It has not yet opened up, but it is just pinning, waiting and ready. There's also a shell, like a seashell. And I feel like that has a symbology beyond what I know in this moment or have time to really relish in that. But on the other side, there was the mermaids, and they typically have shells for cover. I don't know if it's the same thing. This feels more like telephone, maybe with the mycelium or the fungi. And maybe this has just been a whole lot of fun. Maybe this means more than we know, and maybe it means nothing at all, and all of those variations and perspectives are perfectly pleasant. Are we trying to find a needle in a haystack with a trident sitting there in the center, or candelabra? Are we designing destiny as we speak and wander and think, wow, what a mess? And yet, I feel calm, as though we are swimming in the water, floating. We know how to swim. We know how to breaststroke, side stroke, doggy paddle, butterfly. We know the techniques, but can for a moment, if we may, just lay back and wonder and relish in just moving differently, like in water, like the very mermaids, moving differently, moving the spine differently. How much wiggle room is there in the workings of the universe? And maybe water is a key here, a conduit to communicate with more space. And sometimes it'll be air, and sometimes it may be earth in its physical form of expression, or not in its alchemical expression. There are wind beings here, And I really would not have expected this to be so, what I'm going to say, spiritual. But you know, I love me some spooky and some supernatural, as it is like fairy tales in the characters, and there's just more personality a lot of the times for me. And that's how my mind works and sees. And I welcome you to know and see completely differently, and know that we are not fighting for right or wrong. Purely experiencing existence through an expression. And how curious is that we can both look upon it, now seeing a monarch butterfly moving towards a star, leaves falling like rain, and the mycelium deep beneath communicating as the fungi rises like antennas, touching in on our dimension of being here and now. And would you like to visit others? Need no substance other than oneself, and yet there's help. There's a helping hand. There's an extension should one accept. There's a Peter Pan-like energy here. I think it's Peter Pan, I'll be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure. But at least in the way Peter Pan looks historically, I don't know that it's actually Peter Pan. But it's just the same kind of fairy tale Bambi. There's another show coming through called Sweet Tooth, with like children that are, you know, half Bambi or deer, etc. hybrids. But there's still someone talking into the wind. It's really a beautiful sensation to feel, to just sit in that and hear the wind, even in the stillness. And suddenly now, as I'm staring here with you, I am looking at an old petroglyph, hieroglyph on the cave walls. And I'm seeing how far they go through time, how many eons and eras, how many breezes of the wind spoke through to and found it important to capitalize on that moment and to capture it onto a cave wall, to build something or say something, as it maybe wasn't talking to you or I in the future or the past, but to the very beings in which they saw, to the spirit of. And we just happen to be observers, in or out of time, in or out of sync. And maybe the message isn't for me or you, but we are witnessing a communication from an existence to an existence, and saying, we saw you, we heard you. And this is how we can confirm intelligence to intelligence. And this seems to be a real thing that I'm noticing in this moment. We may perceive or conceptualize that other species or whatnot may be, especially otherworldly or space-bearing Odysseys, to be more intelligent. I keep hearing intelligence to intelligence. And of course, we would fear that it would be overbearing or incepting upon, because our own species does that to its own. So it's warranted, it's understandable. But that's not the only way. And may there be more evidence for you to trust in, knowing thyself. And the open arms that extend from spirit hereafter, wherever you may be, that wish to extend that remembering, that moment, as you talk to the stars and wish upon a star, when you speak to the night and the day, when you speak of your desires in which you wish to extend out and shout to everybody and feel you got to keep it inside for a time, for a while, that you're not keeping it away from anyone. You're communicating to the other parts of you, your departments. So it is a whole. No one's pitted against each other. The conscious and unconscious, the preconscious, subconscious, the outward, the inward. And for this moment, it is whole within you. And that's worth nurturing for when you're ready to share it out into the world with open arms that release and free it to evolve as an extension of you, as a part of you, but also welcoming in the massive hug and proud of you feel that comes in right here and right now. So I want to thank you so much for being here, in however this might have inspired or irritated or simply wandered with me through and around the ins and out of all and nothing, the mindscapes and heartscapes, the emotional bodies, the thought contemplations, and more. May you have your own. May you watch others if you feel so inspired, or you can check out my other channels. If you are part of the print club, the Mirror, the monthly print club, you have exclusive episodes that do wander into visual writing, contemplations and reflections, more of an interactive episodes. You also get a monthly print, so I love that if you would like to join us. And if not, that's okay. There's so many doors at the House of Scrying and windows for you to decide how you would like to interact. Walk in, walk away, but know that you are always invited, respected, and loved. Until next time we meet, Print Club, I will see you soon. And until then, thank you so much to our Inkblot for stepping forward and to you for being here. So much love.